Good evening. It's NutBallCop. Welcome. Bunch of people joining in. Thank you very much. Um, Wanted to be on earlier, but I haven't cleaned my main display aquarium in my front hallway in almost 2.5 months. A good big water change, filter replacement, everything. I've been living off of the chemical neutralizer and the manufactured bacteria types that I keep in the tanks to keep the tank clean. But yeah, I had to spend almost 2 hours. Haven't done it since the surgery. So I wanted to be on earlier because what a screwed up weekend. Oh, I hope everybody's doing okay. Remember, it's okay to be sad. Especially if you know somebody in these situations. But be the strong self. You have to. Um, the word of 2025 I've been telling my sons is perseverance. We have to have a lot of that right now. Um, Australia, horrible. The Ivy League University in Rhode Island getting shot up. That's terrible. And we're already having a bad weekend. Um, this is what's so nutty about. I'm sure the tweet everybody's seen. It's inexcusable. Before we get deep into that, we're definitely gonna have to have a sip for the happy hour. Black Label Scotch tonight. If you're having a happy hour, or if you're on the East Coast and having a late night drink, toast to better days. I mean, the tweet is nasty. It's not disagreeable. It's more in line with dreadful. Um, it's obnoxious. It's odious. Its delivery was oleaginous. It was repulsive. It was demeaning, not just to the Reiners, the murder victims. It was demeaning to all crime victims. Okay. He was going to stop all crime by, deporting millions of people, whether or not they committed crimes, whether they were U.S. citizens or legal residents. He was going to stop all crime. A bunch of goombas, a bunch of proud babies, and some police tanks. That was going to solve all crime. Okay. Then he mocks in such a ignorant way. A 12-year-old would have a 12-year-old with a social media account would probably know not to do that. I mean, just saying, I mean, they love to mock the word offensive. You're offended. I don't get offended easily. I just think sometimes you're just being mean or just being an asshole. I'm not personally offended about it, but I think you can treat people better and act better in public. I mean, half the shit that is coming out of these fake alpha bros' mouths right now, if they said that shit in the 70s and 80s, somebody would have already punched them out. Quiet piggy. Try that in a bar in West Germany. Ain't happening. Now, the scary thing, and I'm going to dovetail this into another also very shitty thing the dear leader porn star Humper is doing is I'm gonna, what he is doing. His base knows, his college educated supporters know, and his political circle knows. They know what he's doing, and they know why he is doing it. They don't care if it's right. They don't care if it's wrong. They don't care if it's obtuse or a direct lie. Um, they just literally don't care. Remember a few videos, and I've talked about this in essays too, where I was telling you that, you got to understand why they voted for Donald J. Trump. It was the big double fingers to both parties. And Republicans are quickly figuring out, especially they just lost another election in Georgia, another one that wasn't even close. Okay, didn't go anywhere near where they thought it was going to go for them. Um, the tide has turned. All the midterms are going to be about is turnout. Because the polls are going to say what the polls are going to say 6 all the way into 3 months out. Okay. Remember, don't trust any of the polls now. It's way too freaking early to be statistically significant. It's hard to project out that far. Sometimes you're right. But there's no statistical certainty in it. Like when you are closer to the event. Okay. Kind of why I think poly market's so silly. I see some things like, what is going to happen 2 years from now? I don't know. It's too large of a projection window. Um, you can make some round estimates and some broad projections, but you saying, well, A, B, and C are going to happen because of causality Y. That's very, very low order of probability. It could be a good guess, but it's a very, very low order of probability. So they literally don't care when he does stuff like this. When he is mean for the sake of projecting the fake alpha bro. Okay, I know if there's no real alphas. Everybody knows that, or you should know that. That was a misunderstanding of a study about captive wolves. There's no alpha like it's been propagandized by the He-Man Women's Haters Club on YouTube and Twitter. Um, they get it completely wrong. Um, but if you were to describe something like, in a colloquial sense, an alpha male, you want to meet some? I've told people before. I'll introduce you to somebody who, if you think somebody else is tough, I'll go, yeah, I'll introduce somebody that you will no longer think they're that tough. Okay, the people I looked up to, yeah, they're not these posers. They're not these angry, performative bros that are out in your face for the sake of just telling you to fuck off to everything. And that's what the tweet was about, or the truth, or whatever the hell you call it on that platform. The dying platform, the dying platform of fraud, gold, IRA ripoffs, wellness products being sold by Dr. Oz. I thought Facebook was bad, so I'm not on Facebook anymore. Unfortunately, it's right there. It's right there. There's a tab open to his two socials. I can keep an eye on the bastard. And when I see a thing online, when I see it on Blue Sky or Substack or on the news, whatever, I go right to his feed and make sure that that's on his feed. Okay, because it's so easy to make up a fake post. So just go read it for yourself, and I do. And I read that this morning. Went right there. I read it, saw what it said. Um, the way he tried to loop himself into being the important part of the story. Bullshit. That's just really insane narcissism. Okay. You're not part of the story. You have nothing to do with this. Oh, and just a general note. Yeah, this is another police tank win, huh? We buy tanks. We put ice on the streets years later. We put tanks and ice together. No more crime. No more immigrants. No more brown people. No more crime. Well, guess what? Crazy is crazy. Addiction can fuck people up. Bad. Now, I still don't think most people understand what addiction actually is. Drug use versus drug abuse. We'll have that conversation later. But when abuse is going on and it gets hardcore, it can fuck some people's lives up bad. And obviously, this is the crescendo moment of where drug addiction goes wrong. Mental health goes wrong. So I've been asking for years, are you going to stop cray cray with a police tank? Doubtful. He didn't again in this case. So it's the whole theory that we just militarize more and ergo crime goes down. I that's not the work. That's not the job. That's some Hollywood fucking 9 o'clock show on fucking CBS. That's not what the job is. Anybody telling you that's the job has a hole in their head the size of a fucking grapefruit. Now, another myth that he is, dear leader, is portending at the moment, and it's total bullshit. He keeps repeating this shit that um, tariffs and investments that he has helped bring to the United States of America has already caused an $18 trillion increase in revenue and economy. Now, I don't know if it's just senility, stupidity, dementia, combination thereof. I don't know. Maybe he's confusing 1.8 trillion with 18 trillion. But you have to understand the effects of suddenly importing in just under a year 4 times the existing revenue of the federal government. Um, the economy can be too cold, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, COVID, or it could be too hot. The cause of the Great Recession, housing. Housing was too hot. Okay. What would happen to base commodity prices and the stock market if you suddenly injected that kind of money into the economy? Would be one, it's physically impossible. Like the number is nowhere near true. Okay. It's like a physicist coming up today and going, "Oh, I've measured longer than, 13.6777 till years." You better have some remarkable proof to come up to back up that remarkable story, considered how many other people got the 13.777 answer. That's the age of the universe. If you suddenly say it's different and it's way different, like this would be like a physicist coming up and saying, I think I've measured, I don't think in theory, I have measured the universe is 110 billion years old, not 13.6777. Okay. Like physically impossible, that number. The distortions of the economy would be so entirely vast. They the 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 impacts would be, I don't know, order of magnitude worse than the Great Depression. Because the Great Depression was caused by the same thing the Great Recession was caused by. The housing crisis was caused by. It was an overinflation of assets. Okay. That would be like increasing our economy by like 64% in just a couple of days, under 11 months. Okay, if that was actually happening, holy shit. There'd be nothing on the store shelves. There would be no diesel fuel. There would be no concrete available. The price of things would be insane. But have you noticed anybody challenging him when he keeps repeat? He sounds like he said it once or twice. He keeps repeating this. I brought in a total of to blah 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 all my bullshit. Okay. The tariff money comes from us. We're paying the import tax. And he's coffining the money and saying, look, I did a thing. Well, let me show you what he did. Okay. Okay. I have a dollar, US dollar. Okay. In this hand. Now I put it in this hand. Now I claim I'm $18 trillion richer. I mean, it's so far out of the realm of reality. He literally took the money from one hand and put it in the other and goes, "Look, I made money." That's and the volume he's saying he did it is so physically impossible based on our economy. Um, the economy would literally have to be an order of magnitude larger than it was last year to accept that money inflows, because what you're doing is taking the M2, the money supply, and you're just blowing it through the roof. All that money hitting the system at the same time, oh, it would be devastating. Good luck buying a house. Good luck building a factory. Hell, good luck finishing those chip fab plants you're building in Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and Ohio. It would literally blow the economy out of the water. And you could do this, very friendly and jokingly, and his assistant goes, "Oh no, Mr. President, it's 1.8 trillion. You got to put the point in there. Ha ha ha. Don't look like a fool, because 1.8 trillion is still kind of fudging the numbers, but 18 trillion is fucking insane. I mean, diesel for a truck grade diesel would be $90 a gallon, right? The price distortion would be insane. You just can't take the money supply and jack it up like that. You're talking like the Weimar Republic in Germany before the war, in reverse. Same end effect though. Remember, you don't want a roller coaster. That's why, like, I keep warning people, especially my colleagues, is techies. They love spending money on stupid shit. Oh my god, this stock is so hot. Yeah, because it's at the top of the roller coaster. Chugga 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 chugga. When it hits top, what happens? Ah, yeah, yeah. How many times does that happen? Remember the whole tech bubble? That's why you should be more diverse. You shouldn't uh, be speculating. You should be doing long-term investments for growth or dividend or bond payment, debenture payment, not lottoing this shit. That's why Bitcoin's so popular. It's all the crazy shit they were doing with tech stocks in the 90s. Now they're just doing it with an empty digital representation of a monkey or a fake digital coin. It's the same investment strategy. So yeah, so you got the tweet that is like literally the tweet from hell. I mean, talk about absolute no reason to say that in public, or even think about it in private. Being such a big music fan and guitar player and um, audiophile, yeah, I can separate like the Amboy Dukes, uh, Ted Nugent's OG Detroit rock band. Uh, I can separate that from 2000s Ted Nugent. I like the music of Amboy Dukes. I don't like what Ted Nugent turned into, and I disagree with them across the board. If he probably brought up an issue, I'd probably disagree with him, because he went from what I used to call dickhead conservative, um, to flat out uh, mega idiot. Okay. But when he says the bad tweet, or he says the lie of the $18 trillion, because look, I'm so impressive. Look how big the number is. It's like the square footage of my apartment I tripled. Oh, what was it? The Atlantic the other day that had the article. He did exactly what he wants Letitia James and James Comey prosecuted for. Two residents, both designated as primary residents, and they brought the receipts. And the frustrating thing is some of the focus groups I'm reading about is they're in the lotto dream camp now. Oh, if I just buy one more lotto ticket, I'll pay off that third credit card I owe money on. It's the lotto fever dream investment strategy. That's exactly what they're doing to Trump now. Oh, if I just hang in there another quarter, it will be raining money. Really? Farmers are filing for bankruptcy. Um, One of the largest beef processing plants in the country out of this little town of 15,000 in Nebraska employs 1 out of 5 people, or a little under 1 out of 5 people. Uh, no announcement, no walk tuning this down so people can find other things to do. No, we're closing it. Goodbye. Get out of here. And that dovetails. And the other thing I had written down here is, oh, be prepared. I know the Boy Scouts are gone as they're defunct as a agency. I was a Cub Scout as a kid, by the way. Um, before it went crazy. um, be prepared was the slogan. And that's a good slogan to use in general life. Be prepared. Um, the jobs that are gone, the factories that moved, the opportunity that got moved out of the country because very simply, if you own a business, okay, or you're running the business as a CFO, why do you want to pay tariffs and import tax that you have to pay for the importing company? It's not China. That's bullshit. It's always been bullshit. Okay. The CFOs know this. And the reality on the ground is why, I mean, if I'm in a diverse manufacturing environment where there's, multiple stages to the final product, this thing can cross the border multiple times. Why do I want to pay an import tax 3, 4, or 5 times? When I can just move this to Mexico and pay an import tax once. I keep headquarters here with all the well-paid executives, and I move the jobs down to Mexico, so I only have to pay the import tax one time. Because eventually, the import taxes, the corporation is going to stop paying them. They're gonna slowly roll the cost toward the consumer. Um, and when the full realization of the true price hits the average working family, people are going to be shocked because they're only, from my reading, they're only passing on a few points because they don't want it to be in a customer war like the old airline wars, the fare wars. The airlines used to figure out their industry by literally trying to slit each other's throats. One airline would go, "Hey, I can get you from Boston to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for $68 round trip." And here comes another airline. "I'll do it for 29. Ah, they're literally trying to knock each other out of business. It was hardcore back then. Because the routes weren't profitable. There's too many players. That's why like a lot of small players went out of business because you gotta get to a certain volume of flights before all the long-term contracts, you know, fit into a risk equation and you can make money over time consistently with the business. Because if you're not making money, nobody gives a shit. I mean, that's just reality. That's why I kind of giggle sometimes when people say democratic socialist, and I'm going like, "Oh yeah, you always cry a big tear when you get a bonus at work, right?" No, I know you're more likely to not complain to pay your taxes. Hell, I don't complain about. I have only one complaint about paying taxes. That's the return on investment. Because if I was paying this, because the same rate, my wife's uncle is a physicist who would end up working in uh, software engineering for the medical industry all his career instead of working in physics. It's just math and computer programming. Just you're doing something else with your degree. So yeah, he was a lead in a big medical software engineering company. And we talked about income and taxes one year, and we made about the same money, and we pay about the same in taxes. And he has a cousin who lives in Denmark makes about the same money as we do. He pays the same taxes. He said, what do you get in Germany and Denmark for your tax dollar? Education, healthcare, literally safer streets. Okay, a social safety net that makes sense, that's humane. Doesn't completely solve homelessness, by the way. That's kind of a misconception sometimes here in America. Oh, if we just offer them an apartment and a doctor and this and that, they won't be outdoors anymore. No, we went to the European model, and so did several other cities across, including like Salt Lake. Didn't work. 100% it didn't work, and it's just reality of life. Like there were still homeless people in Germany, in West Germany, when I lived there. That just wasn't the scale of the problem we have here by any measure. It was more like growing up in the '70s, where you saw the occasional hobo or bum milling about. It wasn't this shanty town bullshit we've been seeing since the housing crisis. So understand whether he's doing shitty tweets, um, abominable. Just and I'm a Rob Reiner fan. I love movies. I have a custom movie cabinet. I think I put it up on Blue Sky one time, showing like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies, plus hundreds more in my digital libraries. I think three different digital libraries. I don't know why I spread it out like that, but that's what happened. Um, and I think a couple of Rob Reiner's movies are top notch, if not masterpieces, at least in the pop culture masterpiece sense. Because I love Princess Bride for like a lot of the same reasons I like Rocky Horror Picture Show. So many people love it and can quote it and get excited about it. And Princess Bride's to me, a genuinely funny movie. Like I still laugh. It's like Blazing Saddles. Every time I watch Blazing Saddles, I laugh my ass off. It's that kind of movie to me. Um, and A Few Good Men, that was a huge Barracks movie. Everybody loved that one. Um, Stand By Me, classic, great storytelling, just marvelous storytelling. But like I was talking about, even if Trump doesn't like Rob Reiner, and I know he doesn't, his reaction was shitty. But everything else he's doing is shitty too, and the results are going to be shitty. Like he's shitty to foreign leaders. He's shitty to foreign countries. I'll find the I just sent it to a couple of friends in Canada, both with serious military experience, including with us as allied liaisons. Um, George will talk tonight about Europe invited Canada to join SAFE, the consortium of defense manufacturing for the EU. When I said earlier that the jobs are gone, you need to think about, your family needs to think about, you got kids going up to high school, coming out of college. They need to make good, well-informed decisions. What you thought the economy was in the 1990s, the aughts, and the tens is gone. That's no longer the economy. What it is TBD. We'll figure that out over the next year or so. But when I'm saying those jobs are gone, I mean those jobs are fucking gone. And they're never coming back. And when you take the additional hit of the immigration bans and nonsense, and all based on racism, animus, and grievance. What else is anything else to do with this guy based on? It seems like it's never based on a fact. It's just based on one of those three, or a combination of those three. So those jobs are gone. Okay. They're not moving those tech jobs back from Costa Rica or Poland or Romania or Puerto Rico. I know Puerto Rico is the United States, but it's a very, very affordable cost center. And California, Texas, and Massachusetts, New York were all shedding jobs to Central America and the Caribbean, just because it's a lower cost center. And what we'll start losing a lot of international business and a lot of international support roles in America for because we can't figure out healthcare. We absolutely refuse to figure out healthcare. And the only way I'm starting to really agree how we pay for it, how we restrain costs, how do we deal with fraud. By the way, all good uses of machine learning and very very custom and well tested AI bots. Um, I'm starting to heavily lean because I was like for years I was like, why don't we just tell the insurance companies what the fuck to do? That's what Switzerland does every year. My wife's cousin, he's a doctor in Europe, and he's like, oh yeah, every year they do it. They're like, that cost this, cost that. They go, we don't give a shit. You have to cover them if you sell them a policy, and you can't rip off the government because we still have to subsidize the poor. Yes, even in Switzerland, there are poor people who need their healthcare subsidized. Okay, very wealthy country. Okay, but they have mostly a private insurance system, and they just tell the insurance companies what they have to do, and it seems to work. Okay. Germany has a public system. It works really well. Australia has a public system. I used to be a gaming admin. This is like 20 years ago. My team was the Badass Wankers out of New York City. And I was one of the couple dozen admins. So I had permissions to you know, block people if they're being knuckleheads or, um, people who had like run cheat codes, stuff like that, making them go the speed of light through the maps. And so like, no, bye. You're gone for 120 days. um, one of my co-admins was a guy from Australia who was actuary. And I go, well, what do you guys do in Australia? And he goes, oh, mate, we figure that shit out by the end of January. He goes into this big long explanation. He's an actuary. um, and he was like, yeah, we know what we have to spend. So we just spend it. No, we got over that argument about the paying the bill. You're going to pay the bill anyways. Look how much public subsidization and this whole collapse of the ACA shows that a purely public subsidized system won't work unless you turn it into a permanent subsidy that can manage inflation and growing costs, especially for emerging technologies, which tend to be more expensive than traditional treatments. Okay, so you got to have all that cost curve managed, and in our political climate, it that doesn't seem to be feasible. We can't rely on cranky politicians looking to score points and get interviews, in their A block interviews on cable TV news, telling us whether or not we get our next round of chemotherapy or you get the next round of the anti-HIV medicine that keeps you healthy or some genetic order medicine. I get some of these weird biologics I've been reading about that do crazy things for very specific groups of patients. Um, Without it, they get worse, and some of them, yeah, will get really sick and die. Should cranky politicians be making that, or should we have a human standard? Because New Zealand does, Japan does, Malaysia does, France. France, it's legal even to consider cost in the treatment. They just got to treat you with the best they have to give you, and that's just the way it works. It's like we're the only country, that were allies in in World War II that didn't after the war eventually fix healthcare. I think everybody had fixed it before the mid 70s. And yeah, every system is going to have flaws no matter what you want. If you just want an a la carte system that is pay as you go at whatever price and you never get to see the price, and this whole, oh, we're going to tell them, they have to be transparent with their cost. If you ever saw the transparent cost of a of a hospital bill, like my accident in 2007, you get presented the insurance bill. 7 days in the hospital, including emergency surgery, 2.5 days in ICU, and the rest in the ward being observed, and a shit ton of medication, of course. Near fatal accident. Uh, $252,000. Um, I had a concussion. Like most of my head was sliced off by the windshield wiper when I went up over the hood and smashed into the windshield, and that got thrown off when he hit the brakes. Um, so that I had like skull, like the dude from Avengers there with the red face. I had this whole bunch of skin missing. I was fading in and out of consciousness. Um, Vomiting from the severe concussion I got. Uh, and I'm supposed to stop away and go, is that $52,000? Is that the insurance bill amount, or is that the cost plus profit amount? Can you give me two other quotes from two other nearby hospitals? Okay. If I didn't have the surgeon standing there that happened to be there when I arrived, because it was like, yeah, you got two coming in back to back, both same accident, two different locations, same injury, crushed rib cage, spleens off, bleeding to death internally. Um, if he didn't have me in surgery in 20 minutes, I'd have died. Wait a minute. Can I check the insurance rate versus the core cost and profit rate you would negotiate my lawyer if I had to hire one? Because this is the scary thing about healthcare. When they said, "Oh, we'll expose the prices," if they're gonna expose the prices, they're gonna expose the insurance cost price. That would, in my case, for accident, ambulance, blah 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 blah, $252,000. Okay, and probably $10,000-15,000 of other costs. You know, um, implanting a couple of teeth I lost in the accident, that sort of thing. So I'm supposed to have wherewithal while this is all happening. Uh, and if people actually knew, like, okay, here's what they would bill your insurance company. But when I did get an attorney who was the super, a friend referred to me to him because he's not an ambulance chaser. He's just retiring. He said he'd love to help you out. He said heard it was a horrible accident. He just wants to help you, and he wants it like a base fee. That's all he wants, right? And he didn't even charge me the incidentals. Like he absorbed all that. He absorbed like almost $5,000 worth of cost. He says, I'll just don't worry about it. The chunk from the check is fine. And I was like, hey, thanks, man. So the world's nicest guy that was an injury attorney. He showed me the legal response when he filed with the hospital for that actual cost plus profit line. Just under $67,000, not 252,000. So exposing prices does what? Is this all about making America what again? I'm lost a beat here. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The jobs are gone. Okay, Tyson ain't never moving back to that town in Nebraska. That machinist that closed in Oklahoma is never coming back to Oklahoma. Maybe some of the office staff and the executives will stay there, or stay in California or Nevada. But nobody in their right damn mind is going to pay an import tax multiple times. It's makes your product completely uncompetitive. So we're making America uncompetitive again. Now, I do happen to agree with a couple of people have said this. Galloway said it. Zihan said it. A couple other people have said it. Yeah, if you've got a young man in your life looking for a reason to get up and put his boots on in the morning, um, wiring and welding. Okay. We're about to go into a construction phase that's already kicked off, and it's going to get even bigger. And it's the high money experienced are going to take away from the local and regional talent pool and availability pool. and those will be open jobs everywhere in America. Plumbing is another good one. You don't need a tech degree to make well north of six figures anymore in a lot of zip codes. You know, and keeping like if you've got a family business running, do whatever you can to keep that business going. Short of talking to private equity and having them take your business and destroy it for you. Um, because if it's still working, you maybe fall through, and you maybe even get bigger when we come out of the cycle. And this effect is going to be mind blowing because once people figure out these jobs are gone, guess what's going to happen to university enrollments? Oh, it already took a hit because of pretty insane animus filled crap educational visas. Okay. We do not employ, and I'm talking about formally trained engineers. I know the difference. Like I say, I'm a data engineer. What I am really is a data hacker, white hat hacker. I don't, I use my skills for good, but I'm not a formally trained engineer. I didn't go to Cornell or MIT or Stanford. A lot of my friends did. They're really freaking smart. Okay, but we do not have the number one total of working professional engineers. You know, electrical engineers, nuclear engineers, architects, structural engineers, civil engineers. Um, it's not like in America we pay attention to civil engineering rules, anyways. Look how bad our roads are. Um, so something is going to be in a huge cyclical changeover now. Okay, just the way like computers in the early '90s completely they changed the way the office worked and the way the office looked. One of those type of cycles. What you thought available jobs, what jobs were at their core, a lot of that's about to change. It's going to change pretty dramatically. Um, oh yeah, forget the economy you wanted or the economy you liked, and start being prepared that the rest of the 21st century is going to look nothing like the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Absolutely nothing. Like there's going to be a whole shift, and it's going to be in really high end manufacturing, um, energy, because eventually, when the and hopefully the midterms is the moment for us. Hope so. We can get serious about the electrical grid and changing the electrical grid into the next generation Eisenhower interstate system. Okay. We're going to have to get serious about if we're going to be serious, if we're going to be building out manufacturing like this, we're going to be building out data centers the way we are, AI data centers especially. Um, then we need a whole energy construction phase, and we need a coast to coast infrastructure improvement, and so in many cases replacement. That all has to happen. Okay, I don't see that happening under the current leadership, whether we're talking the White House or Capitol Hill. And I don't think they have the wherewithal to pull off a project that's worthy of supporting the goals they're trying to achieve. Because right now they're bullshitting on a lot of it. You're not running an AI data center on diesel generators. Okay. when a neighborhood is already short on power and experiencing power troubles, you're going to pull off that grid. That's not going to work long term. That's not going to scale, as we used to say, as we still say, because the economics of computing is scalability. Has been since the early 2000s. Okay, we don't run for the most part anymore. Like you would run your desktop or your last laptop. There's no one OS on one box. We are running very large servers we call hypervisors, and we're running 20, 30, 40, 50 virtual machines, containers, appliances, whatever we are, but they're little baby objects that get put into the system, and it all shares the one underlying resource pool. And then you take a whole stack of them, and voila, you've got a data center. Okay. Um, Now, the bad side is we're over investing in AI and AI data centers. Everything else about what's going on right now is actually pretty good. Because if now you've got state legislators panicking about power, maybe they're finally going to fix their grid. Maybe they're finally going to work with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to build a next generation nuclear power plant. Okay, I've described that before. If you want to be green, okay, I'm pretty green. 12.2 kilowatt hours solar array on the roof and an EV on the charging station in the garage. Um, if you want green, stable power that actually works for what we're building, you've got two choices. Not that solar and wind and hydro and all the renewable others don't work. They do. They do. They're great. Add to the peak so we can turn down the other resources. Turn that natural gas regional plant down a little bit so it doesn't put out so much carbon dioxide. That's the nice thing about nuclear. No carbon dioxide. Okay. And the way they build modern things, it's not Chernobyl. Okay. The biggest problem is not doing a Fukushima. Fukushima did almost everything right except where they put the fucking plant, where it could be hit by a tsunami. They didn't have any offsite backup. That should have been ready on trucks, ready to roll. Because you can put in mass amounts of electricity on site through portable generators. That's the problem with AI. They're relying on it as a long-term power solution, not an emergency power solution or a you know a temporary brownout. Like some of the data centers, like in the South Bay, they'll switch to natural gas when they're starting to get brownout indicators. So their stuff lessens the total of the draw to the grid, and the natural gas takes over locally. Plus, they buy green credits from windmill and solar. There's a lot of solar inland and down south, so they're buying credits on that. But they can switch fuels and leave the electricity to the rest of the city in like the hottest of the summer days, that sort of stuff. So yeah, so the jobs we have, like everything's going to realign. Tech is going to realign. Medicine is going to realign. Um, the draw to the trades is going to be phenomenal. The draw to the formally trained engineers is going to be phenomenal. Okay. And as a dad who paid for 2 associates, 4 bachelors, and 4 masters, none of my own, by the way. Uh, if you're going to send somebody for an engineering degree, make sure they get a master's. That's just needed today, I think, because most of the people we hired as formally trained engineers in the tech space, and most of the people I know that work in the other engineering types, um, if they're leads or they're seniors or staff level engineers, they have master's degrees. So college may still work for some fields. Engineering, I think one of them. Nursing's being kneecapped. Dumbest thing ever. And that's going to be another part of the realignment is the declassification of a whole string of nursing all the way up to NPs. The nurse practitioners are PhDs. Okay. Smart cookies. Okay. Had to deal with two of them just recently. Very nice, very smart. Ask a lot of pointed questions because they're managing your overall care and aligning it through all the subsystems that are going to be treating you doing something major. They do have a very specific job. I had to explain that to a friend of mine who's getting cancer treatment right now. He thought he was getting downgraded when he had to see the MP, and I was like, no, 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 no. You don't understand that role in the system. So him declassifying those was kind of dumb, but it's falls in again to what I was talking about earlier, the alpha pro. Oh, all you need to do is kick back and smoke a cigar. Oh, yeah. Tell me how tough you are, bro. Who needs to go to college? Somebody who wants to get a license to be a structural engineer. Somebody who wants to be a lead triage nurse or lead surgery nurse at a major medical center, for example. So yeah, it's going to be weird because we're going to go through a whole and the last time this cycle we didn't have PE to deal with, private equity to deal with like we do now. That's going to be the real variable. Are we gonna control those guys before they cut off all avenue of entrepreneurship? Because especially over not just Trump's really bad at this, but over the last few administrations, there's doesn't seem to be a real problem with consolidated ownership. And that's why again you're seeing jobs go back again to go back to the American dream was assassinated in 1977, the SAM list. You saw when it worked. You saw when it felt it fell off the cliff. And the thing is a lot of people will misread the graphs. They'll see an action, but they don't understand that that is a counteraction to a negative. It's not the growth we saw when it was all working right. So we're about to dovetail into that pretty hard. Where it's going to go, ooh, got me. I mean, I know what jobs there will be in demand, but how does the rest of the whole soup get cooked? And how do we keep an economy rolling for everybody? I seriously don't know because I can't see past the thing where I see a very very small group interest that's been hyper consolidated around dear leader who seem to want to own everything. Like the consolidation of Netflix, Warner Brothers. I don't think that's good for the entertainment space. I like the fact that more and more manufacturers are making automobiles in this country with a bunch of startups. You know, I think they were like Rivian. I think they were overplayed as a tech company. You're a car company that uses technology, just like Ford. So knock it off. You're competing in the car space. You're not competing with us in the data center or in the data layer. Okay. In fact, we've already got the car figured out. I know. I read Porsche's data table. They gave it to me. It's really cool. It's awesome data. They know everything about that car and its performance. Everything that's happening on that car. They have somewhere in the JSON table. There's an entry that tells you what's going on with that car. So yeah, what are the next cycle? When does it start? It already has. This is it. I mean, unfortunately, this is live like an e-ride. Give us your e-ticket, sit down, just hang on. Remember I saying was about the roller coaster? Yeah, we're on the uptick of that roller coaster. It's making me really nervous about investments, bonds. Bonds got a little shaky in the beginning of the year. They've calmed down. Um, but that's your first indicator. Bond volatility, the move index starts going crazy. Yeah, something's up. Somebody doesn't believe somebody's going to pay their bills. And that every time gets ugly. Um, Movie Margin Call with Zachary Quinto and Kevin Spacey and a bunch of other good folks. Uh, the boardroom scene is tremendous, so well acted. Demi Moore's in it; she was awesome. Um, the the decision they make in the movie, it was all about saving their asses. That's what a lot of companies get into as we head into this cycle. Is they're going to, what do we need for survivability, and it's going to be anything. Eventually, something's got to give. Either tariffs got to go away, the Supreme Court's got to make them illegal. I think they will, but waiting to June is a fucking non-option right now. This is killing us. You take away tariffs, you take away inflation, most of it. It's not a good policy. I'm not against every tariff. This blanket fucking lotto shit is driving me crazy. Oh no, it's 7.5 times pi divided by tau. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why? Why are we having arguments with countries we don't need to be having arguments with? And that's all the tariffs have done in real life. Start arguments with people we should not be having arguments with. We're not having disputes. We're having arguments. That's not good. Talked about the repercussions of that. You know, jobs are gone. Where are the next batch of jobs to go? Defense industry. What do you think is going to happen when Europe and Canada and South America stop buying stuff from us, start buying it from the European collective? Okay. Defense industry is a huge industry. When I worked for the data company, every single defense contractor was a customer of ours. And just by the size of their data environments, I knew how large and what absolute massive processes and number of employees. I mean, these things are massive operations. So you start seeing big offsets in defense spending from our foreign customers. Those are not just jobs. Those are the high end, well paying jobs. Those are going to go. Will they come back? Short of an all out war and an actual war declaration, probably not. So whatever you got going on now, because I'm thinking about it all the time. What do I have going on now? What is this going to look like in 5 years? Because what we have now is the transformation period. We're going to land somewhere. It ain't going to be here. Now, I'm not saying we're going to end up like on a Monopoly board on the two first shitty squares, with the low rent. We could end up on Marvin Gardens. I really doubt we're going to end up on Park Place. Okay, because I think we're just mangling the economy right now in ways that I don't think any surety or confidence to the market. If it was, we wouldn't be seeing people pull out. People start closing things down like they are. Layoffs happening all over the place. So start thinking forward and start thinking about long-term survivability. I know a lot of people get focused on the day-to-day. We're all busy. Start thinking down the road how to adapt to whatever's coming. I'll think about it more. We'll talk about it some more later. Until next time, think about it.